Hello and welcome to Bergkamp Wonderland. We're an Arsenal podcast again, and tonight I am joined by two very special guests and Kris. Firstly, it's Craig from the Same Old Arsenal podcast. You can catch his podcast every Monday night where Craig has to deal with the wonderful lead judges trying to wind him up for the entire show, but he rarely wins, does he, Craig?
Rarely. But rarely. But some people might see it in my face sometimes that yes, he does win sometimes. But rarely.
Winning goal, you don't let him have it, do you?
No, absolutely not. Never, and never will I.
Oh, it's wonderful. It reminds me of the old days of me and Gimli just being mean to each other. Now the only person I can be mean to is Kris. So
it's all friendly banter. We love each other, really.
It is, yes. And last night, good show last night with a fake Adrian Durham and babyface Dan who looks like your knob.
I told him that. He put a picture up on Facebook. I don't think his mum was too happy in the Facebook comments, to be honest.
Dear, excellent. Yeah, it's good to have you here.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Lovely. Right, next up, the man who presses the green button to go and the red button to stop on the world's biggest train set. It's Karl, the inventor of the hashtag Fuck Ellis movement. Karl, how is the movement going in these hard times?
It's kind of dwindled. So if everyone could please just at Ellis, don't just say anything apart from hashtag Fuck Ellis. That's it. Nothing else. Just hashtag Fuck Ellis. I will be appreciative of that. I would ask Kris, but you know.
Are you thinking of adapting it to add anything because he's got all the Spurs players in his fantasy team and he's still doing shit?
I was a prick. Like, genuinely, like at the start of the season, we said no Spurs players and he wouldn't put it in. So, no, I want him to lose, get relegated, Division 1, fuck him.
And finally, Kris doesn't have a Twitter account anymore, so he is now irrelevant, much like his beloved Farmers League. Right, Kris?
I was never relevant in the first place. I'm just slightly less relevant even further now. And obviously, if I am going to start a donation page, a GoFundMe for help Kris through these difficult times. So obviously, if you can spare at least 50 quid each, then that will take away the pain of my Twitter account being gone. But no, in all seriousness, nice to have you, Danny, have me on here and stuff and things. And I was wondering, could Karl maybe, those thought for the day things you have on the underground, could you just get one of those with Fuck Ellis on it? Could you just somewhere Euston, somewhere one of the big stations, and just put Fuck Ellis on the big boards there?
I mean, I could, just as a service announcement, say the next train is Fuck Ellis.
Exactly.
It would work. It genuinely would work. I mean, I may lose my job, but however, just take one for the team, right?
It's worth it. And for all our viewers tuning in, we can confirm his fantasy points this week. I think he captained the thing we can't call him that Steve used to call him. And I think he got 42 points last week. 42 points.
He's a prick.
I mean, look at this. Danny's got it up here. Look at this mess.
Like, I'm actually ashamed.
I am. And the worst bit, he calls himself a Boo AFC. I'm not even sure he'd be allowed to support Arsenal with a team like this. I'm really not.
It's absolute. I've got to make that a little bit bigger, haven't I?
I've been saying that for
Femi
about 7 years.
Femi's got Spurs players in his team. So what if Femi did the decent thing and Femi left? And I said, don't leave, Femi. Come back.
No, fuck him as well.
Yeah. There's no excuse, Danny. Don't give these people an out. It's just no excuse at all.
Now, the reason why the Bergkamp Wonderland's bottom of the league is because it's all ex-Arsenal players. So it's just Kieran Gibbs playing every position. And the only saving grace is Martinez, but he's turned to shit now. And I'm top of the league, people, as you can see by some point. No Man United, no Man City, no Liverpool, no Chelsea, and obviously no Spurs, because I'm not a scumbag. And I'm running away with it. Thank you very much, Jamie Vardy and Jack Grealish. So... oh, here you go. Look, we've got a hater. It's that scumbag from the Fantasy Premier League. That scumbag, I broke the world record. I don't know if people noticed, for the shortest Arsenal podcast ever, 12 seconds. These scumbags did a 4-second one, just going, I don't fucking know. And that was it. And he's done it, and no one can beat 4 seconds. I hate them.
Rules me out.
Yeah, Trump supporters for you. Anyway, let's go and have a little say hello to some of the people in the chat. We have got Carter Stage, who is joined our YouTube. Very nice of him. Waste of money, but there you go. Reese Sergey, Pat Brady. Who else is in there? Jose Jimenez, Jimmy H. Jose again, there's Karl there, got to be nice to him. There's Michael in Sweden, we all know Michael. There's our Purple Lion in Florida, the deciding state. He's told me he's voted for Trump and he doesn't care. There's Julian Salmondo from
on the edge of the playoffs as well, Orlando. Right on the edge of the playoffs in MLS.
Portland to top, just in case you cared.
Yeah, no one cares, Danny. That's Portland.
No, everyone hates Portland now, apparently. Should go back to support Miami. It's Julian Salmondo. There's Hood Baby. I don't know what that is. We've said hello. MD Gunn has been mean, and then he changes his mind and is nice. He says, fuck Ellis. There you go, Karl, to cheer you up. There's Matt Roberts. Agni 1982. We had an Agnelli on here once. Colo's Used Cars. And a good lineup today. Well, thank you very much. It is. There's Loki from PE something. Who else is there? Sai and Vesh. And someone called Kris on the Twitch. Have you given us your Prime donation, Kris?
No.
No, of course not, because you're a scumbag.
Absolutely.
So look, having the listeners telling us, can we get on with the podcast, please?
it's like Steve is looking down. I can hear him now. Get on with it.
Oh, here we go. I've actually got one of those in the in our things here. Get on with it. So, Kris, what should we talk about?
I thought you were going to cue me up a bit better than that. I mean, I suppose we could probably talk about a game. Was it 14 years in the making? Was it 14 years? League games, yeah. I was like young and pretty and handsome, and I had a Twitter account all those years ago. I'm not going to let that go, so be prepared, chat. But it was. It's probably best we talk about that. A 1-0 victory over United. I don't know about the other guys, and I'll come to them in a second, but I had that. You get that feeling where you just sat there. I think I had it against Leicester as well. Half-time, 0-0. We're on top, dominating, structurally look good, formation's good, we're working well. And I thought, yep, this has got Man United penalty 80th minute written all over it. Just had that feeling. So you'd be very pleased to, we'd be very pleased to sort of have the outcome that we did in terms of it being a penalty for us. I've seen a few people say, look at the downsides, because of course, Arsenal fans, that's what we've got to do, that the whole was still a bit defensive, didn't have shots on targets, blah, blah, blah. Honestly, completely irrelevant to me. The most important thing was going up there and winning. And the thing is as well, people have highlighted the fact that it's the first time we've beaten a top 6 team away from home. I think that's actually a lie. I mean, we've beaten a relegation threatened side away from home, so that's nice. But no, in all seriousness, you can only beat what's in front of you. United are a weird commodity at the moment. Ollie in, Ollie out, shake it all about. I personally think it's nice to see Ollie in. I'd like to see him stay for many years to come. They stumbled across something in midweek which worked in Europe, and they thought, we'll do this again. And I think Mikel Arteta once again has shown that he does his research. There's from what I can gather, a lot of work done on the video side of things with the players these days. They do a lot of scouting of how teams set up, and he knew what United were gonna do, and he played on the fact they had no width. That and the fact we had a monster in our midfield. Well, 2 monsters in our midfield who completely outshone United's heavily assembled financial package in their midfield, and. It was just a real. It's a pleasure to just sort of lean back in your chair afterwards and just go, we've won what we call a big game, and it's been coming. I think it has been coming for a while, and it's important we kick on now. And I know you'll touch on the fixtures later on, Danny, but it was it was really, really good, really, really enjoyable. I'll throw it to Craig and ask your thoughts, Craig. What did you make of the game in particular?
Well, starting off, mate, what you said about the 0-0 thing, I was one of those. I'm not sure if anyone saw my tweet against Leicester at half-time. I said, everyone put your money on the Jamie Vardy 1-0. And unfortunately, it came to fruition. And no, I didn't back it. I should have done. But yeah, I'm with you, mate. 0-0 at half-time, totally on top. Missed chances in the first half. You're thinking to yourself, how many more times are we going to miss? And at 0-0 at half-time, I'm with you. Sitting there thinking, we're going to have all the game again. We'll have all the ball. We'll do all the attacking, and they'll get a penalty or something in the 89th minute. But it didn't happen. And I have to say, I was very unconfident of getting anything at Old Trafford. So to come away with 3 points is absolutely brilliant. I think a special shout has got to go to Mohamed Elneny. who was absolutely fantastic against Manchester United. Looks like we might have found someone to complement Thomas Partey, or does Thomas Partey complement Elneny? Who knows? I don't think we'll see that formation again at home, though. A lot of people are saying, oh, this is the formation we should keep to now, and this is the players we should keep on the pitch. Not too sure we'll see that formation against Villa. Not sure we'll see the same personnel against Villa either. But going back to the game, yeah, we win it with a penalty. What better way to win at Old Trafford? By getting a penalty. It doesn't get any more perfect than that. I think, like I've said, I've touched on Elneny, brilliant. Partey, brilliant. Rob Holding, for me, again, was another player who deserves massive plaudits. He done absolutely brilliantly. One training session, comes back out after injury, and comes on, puts Rashford in his pocket, and goes home and has a nice cup of tea afterwards. So, yeah, look, beating Manchester United is always good. It's a 14-year hoodoo that I've absolutely hated for 14 years. Every time we play them, I get butterflies in my stomach. It's just because I just want to beat them so bad. So after 14 years, watching us win at Old Trafford, it's great. And look, we've got to get on now. I'm sure we'll come on to that later. We've got to start putting these points on the board now in the next few games. I think we've got Villa, Wolves, and there's someone else in between that, isn't there? Villa. Well, I can't remember. Is there someone in between? But I can't remember who it is. There's no point going up to Manchester and getting the 3 points, playing really well, and then coming home and not doing the business. Leeds. Yeah, I mean that's going to be a tough. Yeah. They're 3 tough games, but they're 3. I think they're 3 games we should win. So hopefully we do, and hopefully this is the corner now. Hopefully winning this game, like I say, breaking the hoodoo and getting 3 points at Old Trafford. Hopefully will instill some more confidence in the players and they'll kick on from that. But I mean, the way we played was fantastic. I loved it. I loved watching that press. Not one time. I mean, a lot of people were saying to me that it was making them worried. I wasn't worried. Never worried. Watching them press. And to watch Partey and Elneny actually go forward when they got the ball, run forward. It was a sight to behold. So hopefully, like I say, we kick on from that. It instills some confidence in the players, and like I say, we move on, and hopefully that's the corner we've turned this season now. Yeah,
well said. And Karl, I think Craig and I both touched on it, but that midfield area, it was a bit different, wasn't it? I think I was listening to a couple of other podcasts that have highlighted this as well, and before the game, like the worst place to be when the team is announced is Twitter. Something I don't have to worry about anymore, but it's something.
Why, Kris?
It's not going to go away. I'm going to keep referring to it until they listen, bring me back. But when the team's announced, everybody's kind of like, "Oh God," eyebrows raised. Elneny, like really? That seems a bit defensive. Oh, he's not good enough. He's not this. You get the other people that are more balanced and say, "Okay, well, I can see why." And then there's just a back and forth. So I tend to avoid that anyway. But when you actually watch the game and you saw it kick in and you saw that partnership between him and Partey, and the thing I really liked that I noticed was it's almost like there's a box between the 2 centre halves and the 2, obviously it's a 3-man central midfield, but there's 2 centre halves paired with 2 midfield players. So Partey seemed to pair with Gabriel, Holding seemed to pair with Elneny. So it's almost like as one defender steps forward, the other defender steps across and the midfielder drops back in, and it's that constant pressing box. And that's what I was really impressed with. And of course, that defensive, that duo, Gabriel and Holding, both booked, but both just dealt with everything completely calmly. Like Craig said, pretty much in the pocket. What did you make of that kind of defensive and midfield area to get that result and the overall performance from yourself?
I mean, firstly, I definitely have to agree with you. I was one of those people who, when I saw the team sheet, I put in our group chat, Arsenal's style of play in this game is going to be sideways, backwards, because that's what I thought it was going to be. I thought with Elneny in the side, that's what was going to happen. I mean, we can only go on past experiences, and unfortunately, Elneny does tend to have a bit of the crab in him, sideways passing, and I'm very, very happy to hold my hands up and say I'm glad I was wrong. I'm very happy, because for me, Elneny came in, and I think even Manchester United maybe have sort of looked at the team and thought, oh, we can do this here. Like, we kind of can get on top of their midfield. And I don't think they realised just how much of a workhorse Elneny was going to be, or just how good Thomas Partey was going to be, because I don't think they, I know every team does scout players, but I don't think they really knew how good he was going to be. I thought they'd be able to pass rings around him. If you look at Man United's midfield, I mean, they went Pogba and Fernandes, who, for me, they cannot play together. It's got to be one or the other. And then they played McTominay in the first half on the right-hand side, I believe, and then Fred in the bottom of the diamond, which for me made no sense whatsoever. So, as good as we were, and I think we were very, very good, especially in the first half, I think Manchester United definitely got their tactics wrong. And, we played to that strength because they were so bad. We were able to capitalize on that. And like you said, we were able for Thomas Partey to have the space, and he was spraying balls all over the place, which was really, really good. And as much as you saw him do the long passes as well, he was doing the short passes, and this is simple things well. Because I always say, once you do the simple short passes well, all the other stuff can go better afterwards. So, the interchange between Elneny and Partey and Holding and Gabriel was really, really good. And it's just good to see that, like I said, Manchester United midfield, I mean, on paper, you look at Paul Pogba, who, let's face it, top 5 maybe centre midfielders in the world, arguably. Fernandes, I don't think he is personally. He's a penalty merchant, but we are where we are. But for me, what we did to Man United's midfield, we just totally bypassed them. They didn't have a clue, and they had a 10-minute spell towards the beginning of the second half, but it still didn't matter because Elneny literally, I can't believe I'm saying this myself, ran the midfield. He actually did, and I think what Elneny did well, he gave Thomas Partey the space to do what he needed to do. The fact that Elneny was, I mean, we'll probably talk about it later, but chasing people down in the 90th minute and making people make mistakes, for me, is absolutely brilliant. And if you had said to me anyone a week ago, to be honest, Elneny's going to have like a game of his life on the Old Trafford pitch, everyone would have been like, yeah, all right, sound cool. But no, I obviously, like we always say, Arteta sees them week in, out, day in, day out on the training pitch. So he knows what his players are capable of, and he gives them a job to do. And as long as they can do it on the training pitch, then you know what? Like, credit to him. So he's the reason why he gets paid the big bucks to manage his team.
Well said. Yeah, well said, Danny. We have to get your thoughts as well. What was your opinion on the sort of setup in terms of going forward? Because it looked to me like we were kind of in that position where we were going to press the life out of United, and like Karl said there, we were going to force the mistakes. That was very much what happened with the penalty as well, in the fact that Bellerin was sort of in the first half, he was making very different runs to the second half, if you get what I mean. He was sort of overlapping a lot more in that second half. He seemed to get down that byline more, and it was his kind of cut inside that forced the Pogba error, and he knew as soon as he made contact it was a very clear penalty. And Aubameyang, ice in his veins. I kind of like the way he seems to have changed his penalty technique now. He seems to be just putting them in and making sure, rather than the sort of step that was before. I'm quite pleased about that. But were you happy with how we attacked the game and how the sort of almost the counter attack, but with an effect to it? It wasn't just sitting deep and hoping. It was very much press the ball high, win it, and then attack.
Yeah, I do. It's you can see the evolution of the Arteta tactics with more and more players are being brought in, dropped out, brought in, and when they work, he tends to leave them in, which is hopefully what he's going to do with Elneny, because we all thought that Xhaka was going to start, and we know when Xhaka starts or when Kolasinac starts that automatically you're putting little holes in our wall, and we're going to have problems with it. But with Elneny playing there, and he's played in more countries than any other player I think we've got in the squad. He's one of the best players for his country. He's solid, he's reliable, and he gives 100% every time, which is what we need from our players. And he thinks about what he's going to do. Like Karl was saying, he may do a lot of sideways passing, but he does it properly. Where Xhaka just puts it all over the place. So as soon as I saw Xhaka wasn't in the lineup, I thought, hello, this might look good. And then other little things that Arteta's doing that we all like. Tierney playing in the left side of a back three is working brilliantly. Holding, who is a player that everybody said that should be going in the summer, hasn't gone. And he's shown again that he's had another really good game. Early booking, which I was a little bit worried about. I've got Gabriel at the back, who is already probably the best defender in the team, and we've got a spine of Leno, Gabriel, Partey, and probably Aubameyang, and other players are building around that spine and making that spine stronger. And one of the things that I really like at the moment, as much as I want Pepe to work out, Pepe should not be playing important games, because we've seen on the left-hand side that you've got Saka covering Tierney. So when Tierney makes a run, Saka will cover him. On the right-hand side, if Holding, as we saw against Leicester, makes a run, Pepe's not going to do anything when those two play together, because he is not defensively aware. But people are moaning about Willian coming in and why have we got Willian. We saw in this game why we got Willian, because Bellerin will get forward and Willian will drop back and cover for him. And so that's what we've had missing for so many years. We used to have the Lauren and Lundberg, and we'd have Cole and Perez, where one would go and then the other one would cover. And now we've seen with this formation, we may not have in the attacking prowess that we would have with Pepe playing up front, but we do have the defensive solidity there with playing Willian and Bellerin. And you've seen now, Bellerin had a magnificent game. He had a really good game. There's 2 or 3 games in a row now where we thought, hold on, everybody wanted him gone in the summer. And now Bellerin's actually playing well, because Bellerin can't rely on his pace anymore. He has to rely on other people. So he's got Holding coming in to cover for him. And when he does do that inverted wing back, I'm still not sure what that means, but I'm taking that's what he's been doing, where Bellerin will come into midfield a little bit, and then Elneny will move back a bit, and then Partey will go forward a bit. And everybody seems to be working perfectly. And another important thing was Aubameyang didn't get much of the game because he had 2 players on him for most of the game. And you know that when Man United start to get desperate, they're going to start making mistakes. Now, when Pogba brought Bellerin down, Pogba said after the game, I was running around and I was out of breath. No, you weren't, you fat lump. You were just standing there thinking, I've cost this club £105 million and they're looking at getting rid of me already after they got rid of me on a free transfer before that. Their entire team is an absolute joke. And I think the fact that they beat Red Bull 4 or 5-0 in the Champions League midweek, and they're going, we're going to smash Arsenal. Arteta went, I'm not having any of that lot. You watch this. Put the team, and hopefully there's no one in that team I would change at all. I would go on a run of the next few games of playing all of that lot, as much as possibly maybe Luiz, because I do love the way Luiz against Leicester, he was spraying the ball out from centre back and setting up runs and that lot. Maybe Holding for Luiz, but that team there, that's a joy to look at, and they're all working so well, like a machine, and it was fantastic to see, wasn't it?
Yeah, I chuckled at, you just mentioned Solskjaer. I saw a tweet from someone who said that Solskjaer reminded them of sat there and have the look on his face of a dog that sees another dog on TV and gets confused. Did you see that?
No.
You know, like when dogs see other dogs on TV and they just have that look like, huh?
Imagine.
That's what he looked like. It was brilliant. Yeah.
I think the only thing is obviously Gabriel's going to need the rest soon. He's played nearly every game, hasn't he? So at some point, we are going to have a defensive partnership of Luiz and Holding, or I feel Chambers is now back in full training, so he's probably going to be on the bench in the Europa League game. So, at some point, as good as Gabriel was, and, he's absolutely excellent, he's going to need to have a little rest sooner or later.
Yeah,
he tests.
He won't. I don't think he'll play Thursday, like you said, because Mustafi's been kind of nursed back, hasn't he? And he's probably ready to start a European game now. So I'm guessing he would play. And like you said, with Chambers coming back, Pablo Mari is, I think, 2 weeks away, given full training, probably a month away. And Gabriel, I mean, if he keeps playing the way he is, he'll get into it. But at the moment, he's not in the Brazil national team, is he? So he'll have 10 days off when everybody jets off and spreads COVID even further around the world in 2 weeks' time.
But he's at that age, isn't he, where you want to play every single game, and he looks so skilled at what he does.
Yeah,
he's so important. He's got all the skills to do absolutely everything, and you can see after a few games we're playing out from the back with him. That's how much they trust him. So I don't know whether he built up that trust in training, because it's a little bit weird, because straight away to be taking all that responsibility. And already it seems to be like, when you're getting bullied, go and see Gabby and he'll sort them out for you. And my cat's decided to make a nest on the table. Cheers, Dora. I'm going to shut up now.
He's a big lad as well. It's a long time since I can remember watching an Arsenal team and thinking, yeah, we've got a proper big central defender who takes charge and commands it. Like I used to love Koscielny and I love Mertesacker, but they were both quite quiet characters, and they went about their jobs as quietly as they could and did the simple things well. Gabriel is more of a personality, strikes you as a personality. And if you watch the sort of the Instagram stuff and whatnot, I watch a lot of Instagram now because I'm banned from Twitter. I don't know if I mentioned that, but the Instagram post and that, where you see like the dressing room things, he seems to have integrated into that he's not like just with the Brazilians. He seems to be really integrated within the squad, and he seems to be quite a big I wouldn't say leader, but he seems to be a player that just takes advice well and shows it on the pitch. And again, like, you talk about the fees paid. I mean, we all talk about the money that United paid for Harry Maguire, which frankly now is hilarious. Even other deals. I mean, we've paid for Gabriel 26 million. We're paying 4 million a year. We haven't paid anything up front. 4 million a year for a player that good is.
But they spread it over 5 years.
Yeah. It's structured in a way that they're paying 4 million a season, which is absolutely nothing. So I mean, it's good. But the other one is Rob Holding. I want to bring Craig in on this one actually, because like you said, Danny, this was a guy that he's another classic example of the Arteta, if you work hard, I'll give you an opportunity thing, because he was halfway out the door to Newcastle 1 minute. And then for whatever reason, training or whatever it was, Arteta thought, I'll give you a game. And I really like what I'm seeing in Holding, because he seems to be elevating his game. And people forget, despite his hairline, which I know I'm a fine one to talk, he's only 25. He's got his best years way ahead of him. And, I'm not saying he's the next Tony Adams or anything like that, but there's a lot of qualities that remind me of an old-fashioned Arsenal defender. Did you think he got sort of lost in the shuffle on Sunday a bit, Craig? Because obviously the praise went to the midfield, but
yeah, absolutely. And he is an unsung hero of the game against Manchester United. He absolutely done everything right. He didn't make any mistakes, and I thought he played really well. Now I heard on Twitter, I don't know if anyone else saw the tweets, but he was apparently begging.
Chris didn't.
Oh, Chris didn't. Yeah, sorry, but he was begging. It's come to, I don't know how it was true, but he was begging to start. Arteta, I think Arteta was 50-50 on whether he was going to start him or not. Come back from injuries, he only had one training session, but apparently he begged to start. Now I want players like that in my team. If he's knocking on the door of the manager and saying, play me, boss, I really want to play. That's the kind of players we need, and that's the kind of players we want. I think you'll see Rob Holding get better and better the more he plays next to Gabriel. This Gabriel lad, like you say, £26 million. How we structured that deal for what we done it for, amazing. The kid has just brought a massive sense of calm everywhere. I think he's brought a sense of calm to me when I'm watching us defend. I think he's brought a sense of calm to the other players around him. I think he's brought a sense of calm to the goalkeeper. So for me, I think, look, I have to hold my hands up. About 5-6 weeks ago, he played in a game. He had a shocker. I'm not too sure what game it was, and I tweeted, Rob Holding is never going to be good enough for Arsenal. And then he comes out and does this against Manchester United after injury in one training session. But I'm all up for that. I love it when players make me eat humble pie. I'll cram it in, no problem. No fork or spoon needed. Yeah, no fork or spoon needed. I'll pick it up with my hand and put it in. But at 25 years, like we always, like even on our podcast, we were saying, he's 25 years old. Is he going to make it? I mean, that could be for me. That could be his breakthrough game for me. I really think he was that good, and I think he deserves. And I think he'll be quite cheesed off, if I can use that word, if he doesn't start against Villa, because I think he deserves to start. Like Dan said, I think that back line deserves to start against Villa. I'm not too sure about Partey and Elneny in midfield at home against Aston Villa. I think we should definitely be going for more like that. The way we played against Manchester United is great going away from home. We could nick a point, perhaps nick a win. But coming back to the Emirates, like against Leicester, we were so defensive and it was so awful. And again, we got picked off by Jamie Vardy at the end there, by just from us going to sleep. But going back to the original question, Rob Holding for me starts against Villa. I'd love to see him start against him and Gabriel start against Villa. I think they'll both get a rest Thursday, I reckon, in the Europa League game.
Craig, do you think that no player is really bad? Do you think they just don't have the right coach? I mean, we're talking about our previous manager. I don't really want to mention his name very well, but
Chris Real.
He obviously Yeah, that's the one. He obviously just couldn't get the best out of the players that he had. Yeah, we had some, one-off good results. The Spurs game, and I believe it did be Man United. But we had some one-off results. But do you think that in Arteta, someone like Rob Holding has found a coach who will coach him? Just like Elneny, he's suddenly become good. This is what you do in this situation. Go here, do this, do that.
It's a hard one because, like, the last few games, after the games, I'm sitting there and I'm having a go at everyone. I'm saying, "Oh, you're rubbish, you're rubbish, you're rubbish." Now that's just me being a knee jerk. I'm quite good at doing that. But to answer your question, yeah, I think you're dead right. Look at what he's done with Elneny. What he's done with Elneny is unbelievable. Hopefully, he'll do the same with Holding. What he's doing with Gabriel is obviously working. Hector Bellerin has started to play well again. If I've got to worry about that team, it is the attack at the moment. I'm afraid it's about this Aubameyang on the wing thing with Lacazette in the middle. I'm not quite understanding why he keeps playing Aubameyang on the wing. And the interviewer asked him before the Manchester United game. He says that he does score goals from the wing. Yes, he does, but more times than not, he's not in the game out there on the wing sometimes. And I'd like to see Aubameyang through the middle at home against Villa. I'd like to see what he can do. Or I'd even some people might laugh at this, but I might, if you want to keep Aubameyang on the left and you want to keep Aubameyang on the left, I would give Pepe a go through the middle. I would give Pepe a go at centre forward, take him off the wing, put him in the centre there and see what he can do. Because for me at the moment, I love the bloke. I love the bloke so much. He's a great player. But Lacazette at the moment needs to find some form, and he needs to find it quick. Because he's got Nketiah banging on the door. You've got Martinelli coming back as well. Oh well, he's not. He won't be back till the arse end of the season if he's back at all. But these kids are starting to knock on the door now. And if he wants to make his stake for the place, he's got to start finding some form from somewhere. Because I don't think he was terribly good against Leicester. Lee Judges disagrees with me. He thinks Lacazette had a good game against Manchester United. All I saw was him giving the ball away, miscontrolling the ball, and not playing very well. So I love the bloke. I want him to really stake a claim now. I just need some confidence. He needs to score a goal. And I'm sure he's got 3 already. I'm kind of contradicting myself there. I know he's got 3, but he's just not. It's just not the Lacazette that we all know. He's like when he got taken off. He put his arms up in the air as if to say, "Why me? Why me?" And I couldn't quite understand that. He had a poor game against Manchester United. I think people might disagree with me, but I think he had a poor game. So I'm looking at Arteta to get him firing again, Karl. And I think he's doing a lot. I think Arteta's doing a lot of good. A lot of people, even other pundits, other managers, are saying about him. It's good to see. Dan mentioned it. You can see the evolution. It's not gonna be this year. It might not be the year after, but after the 3rd or 4th year, I think the good times may roll again.
Kris, Craig, did you say you'd like to see Pepe playing through the middle?
Yeah.
Kris, did he ever do that when he was playing in the Farmers League? And could he do it, do you think?
You watch your damn mouth, all right? Marseille are already a goal down tonight. You watch your mouth. No, is the short answer. He always played as a wide forward, but like we've said on this pod and probably other pods have said a few times, he had there's a much different style of play with Lille. He played essentially Jonathan Ikone one side, Pepe the other side, and Jonathan Bamba was either through the middle or rotational with Ikone. The one thing that Pepe would do is he would drift inside. So I sort of see what Craig's point is. Like, you could easily try him in that position.
But wouldn't it terrorise defenders? Because I think what Craig is saying, the speed that he's got and the trickery with the ball when he turns people inside out. I don't know any strikers that could do that. I mean, he's a goal scorer, but he's so tricky.
I think he could be the kind of player in the middle to bring Aubameyang into the game more. Do you know?
Yeah, that I would agree with. Yeah, I think if you had I think if you have three, it depends how you play. If you've got three mobile forwards, you can deploy Pepe with the license to go into the centre forward role, even if you start him as a wide forward. But if you're going to do that, you have to play, like you mentioned, Martinelli. His style is very much the same, where he'll drift from left to right to centre. You never quite know where he's going to start up. He might start in a formation laid out on Sky on a right midfield or left midfield, but throughout the game he'll switch wings and move into different positions. What we're doing at the moment with the Lacazette thing, which I might come on to, is we're playing with a trying to get Danny's cat. We're playing with a striker in what I would call what Liverpool do with the Firmino situation, where having him in that position gives Mane and Salah the freedom to roam where they want and do what they like. The problem with us is I don't think we've got the same threat as Mane and Salah. We've got the threat in Aubameyang, who's I'm not a big fan of XG and all that nonsense, but apparently his XG is something like 0.1 or something ridiculous playing from the right, and it's 0.2 or something playing from the left. But yeah, we have to be honest, his form has been patchy since the opening few weeks of the season, and that's not a slight on him. It's just one of those things. Even the best strikers in the world go through those patches where they're just not quite at it. He'll come good again. So I do think there's a bit of the element at the moment of us sort of going, oh, well, he's not scoring goals at the moment, so burn it down, get him off the left-hand side, get him through the middle. If he was playing through the middle and still wasn't getting goals, I wonder if we would all be saying the same thing, if you know what I mean. But I do agree with you. I disagree slightly with Danny. It's not. I don't mind the Willian signing, and I don't even mind the 3 years thing, because I think not only does he still have quality, but he brings a winning mentality. He's won things wherever he's been, and that's invaluable, even as a dressing room presence. But what I'm not sure about with him is he does slow us down a little bit in that wide area, and that's what I like about Pepe. And all the people that sort of hate on Pepe are always say the same thing. Oh, well, he hasn't got any end product. Oh, he doesn't do this, he doesn't do that. It's false. He has got an end product, but he's going to be one of those players that for every brilliant goal he scores like the other night, he's going to fall over his own feet 3 times a game. He's going to misplace a few passes. He's a sort of player that you just have to stick out there and say, right, go and enjoy yourself, essentially. Go and play the game you want to play. He's not going to be a player who's going to consistently do everything right game by game. And people who saw him at Lille would even say that, yeah, he was brilliant in that season Lille had, but he was very much a player that Lille depended on. He was a big star at that club, but he was part of a fluid front three. And we haven't got that at the moment. We've got sort of a hold-up support striker who is craving to be a number 9, but is, I don't think, fit enough to be that at the moment, and he's heavy-legged, and I definitely agree with that on Naka. And we're playing with one of the best sort of centre-forwards in Europe in a wide position, which is fine, but only when he gets supply and only when he gets the position to come in. And ironically, I think his brilliant goals at the start of the season, he's now being marked out of games because every team we play know exactly what we're going to try and do. Slip him in down that left-hand channel, he cuts inside and scores. That'll work against Fulham because Scott Parker's the manager. And, you know, Scott Parker probably knows less about football than I do. But against the big teams, they're gonna scout that, and they're gonna mark Aubameyang out of the game. And that's where I would probably have Pepe in the side ahead of a Willian for certain games, because he adds that unpredictability. That said, Old Trafford away, probably Willian was the right decision to make. But I don't know Karl, have you got a thought on it? Have you got a kind of a view on the front three? Because like Craig mentioned, Nketiah as well, and we got Bellerin got some minutes the other night. I mean, is it sort of, do you want to see a bit of a refresh on it? You're on mute, by the way. the shock realization in Karl's face.
You know what? It was on my headphones. I think Craig hit the nail on the head. I think Lacazette at the moment is not in his form. He's not he's not doing it for us, because like we talked about before we started the podcast, we need to define what Lacazette is there to do. If he's playing as a number 9, play him as a number 9. I don't want him coming back trying to tackle the deep laying midfielder of the opposite team. I want him up front. I don't want him coming back. The amount of fouls that Lacazette gives away, and that's because he's trying to win the ball back after he loses the ball. And you know, I'm not going to slate Lacazette because he's scored 3 goals in 3 games, so and that's brilliant. But for every good game Lacazette has, you will guarantee he's going to have 2 bad games. And I just personally don't think we can afford it. And you said something as well that sparked my interest, Kris. You said that with Pepe, you have to give him the free license basically to trip up over his feet and do something bad, but you're going to get some sort of end product out of him eventually. And I just don't think that we can afford that because you could go back, and I don't really want to talk about him, to be honest, but Ozil, you could say that Ozil's a one-trick pony. He can only play as a number 10, and we have to play around Ozil for the team to be good, and we can't do that. We can't afford to have an Ozil in the squad because he's a one-trick pony, and I don't want Lacazette to fall under that under that spell at the same time. You say, oh, you know what, I've got to play you because in 1 in 3 games, you're going to get a good goal. And I just don't think that, this Arsenal squad, we're good enough to let a player like that give him free rein. You're right what you're saying. I think there needs to be a refresh. I think I personally would take Lacazette out the league squad at least for a little bit. Give him League Cup games and give him Europa League games because those are if you want him to boost his confidence, tell him to go and get a couple goals against a Europa League side, and that will definitely do it. Like you said, we've got Bellerin coming in, Martinelli coming in, Eddie and Nketiah coming in. I do honestly need to see Aubameyang through the middle. Like you said, teams are now marking Aubameyang out of the game. So why would we not change it up and say, okay, if you feel you're going to put 2 people on the left, because it seemed like Man United were doubling up. That's why McTominay was playing on the right-hand side because they had McTominay playing on the right, trying to man-mark Aubameyang out the game, and then you also had Wan-Bissaka as well doing exactly the same thing. So it seems like they were doubling up on Aubameyang. So why did we not change it and put Aubameyang through the middle? That would have put the cat amongst the pigeons, but unfortunately we didn't do it. And I'm not saying that Aubameyang is all of a sudden a bad player. He's not. But like Craig said, I'd love to see him through the middle just to see what he can do. Just a couple of games, and then we'll see what happens. I mean, when we came on against Danny, he was our first Europa League opponent. I can't remember.
It was Vienna.
Vienna. Yeah, he came on and he changed the game straight away because he played through the middle, and it's almost like when he comes to the pitch and plays in the middle, teams get scared, and that's what we need because he's got the rapid pace and he's a very good finisher. We need that. And like I said, I'm not slating Lacazette in the slightest. I truly am not.
I'm not either. Sorry to cut across. There's a few people in the comments there saying I'm blaming Lacazette. I'm not blaming Lacazette for anything. I just want Lacazette to find some form. And going back to Cole's earlier question about is Arteta the man to coach? I trust Arteta to get it right, but he's just got to find. He's got to. It's going to come right, and I know he'll find a solution because he's done it with the defence. At the end of the day, we sit 1 point. We sit 1 point off the top 4. We've played Man City away, Liverpool away, Man United away, and we've got the best defensive we've got the best defensive record in the league. So to say that we haven't improved, on the whole, is nonsense because I still hear people on particular YouTube channels saying that we haven't improved and it's all a load of rubbish and we've all been conned and all this with Mikel Arteta. But he will get it right, and when he gets it right, I think I just hope he gets it right sooner or later because I don't want to see Lacazette. I don't want to see Lacazette fall by the wayside because, like I say, I love him. He's been a great player for us and over the years, and I just want him to find some form. And I trust that Arteta will find the right system that will make him find some form.
I think
like George Graham used to say.
What's that?
George Graham used to say, you when you get a new team, you sort out the defence and then you work forward, and that seems to be what we've done, Kris.
Yeah, I agree. I think, hand on heart, like as much as I love Lacazette, and I do, and I will do till my dying day, but I think in the long-term future under Arteta, I don't think Lacazette will be our centre forward in the long term. I just don't. I think there's a good chance that we'll push forward the option of Odsonne Edouard at Celtic. I feel like they're quite keen on that type of player. I wonder, like, if you imagine this team now with a Nicolas Anelka as a number 9, we would score bucket loads of goals because he's so mobile, but for all his faults, and there were many, he was the sort of player that he'd pull defenders out of position, but he'd also open channels for other players. And he was a hard working centre forward, and that went by the wayside a lot of times, because he was a bit moody and a bit sulky, but he was a workhorse. And when he was at his pomp, sort of in that, I think it's the 99-2000 season, like the first season where he essentially been given the shirt from right and was given the faith and the trust to lead our line, he brought that team with him. And him and Dennis were brilliant. And I do wonder about whether there's a potential twist in the formation. Again, like we said, we played the 4-3-3 yesterday. I actually think there's a possibility that we might even adapt into a bit of a 4-4-2 in certain games, or a 4-2-2-2, I think they call it in modern day, where you've almost got Alba and Lacazette playing closer together. Because I thought we got a glimpse of that on Sunday a bit, because it felt to me like Aubameyang actually wasn't playing wide left on Sunday. It felt to me like he was sort of playing kind of inside left, but he was drifting, and he was central at times, and he was linking up with Lacazette. And I think War of Mankind put it really well in the chat, and he said it's not all Lacazette's fault. Arsenal barely make chances. I think that's a really good point. We are very much a team at the moment that's struggling to find. It's almost like we've got that defensive solidity now in Gabriel. Partey is clearly not completed the midfield, but he's clearly the midfielder we've been looking for probably since Gilberto at this stage. And I feel like the next stage is let's find what works up front. And we have chopped and changed it so many times. And on another day, if Lindelof doesn't get a toe on the end of that cross that Lacazette took a fresh air shot, and it looked bad in time, but you saw that was actually really good defending. I think he lashes that into the net, and that's the sort of goal that he got for Lyon. And yes, he did get goals from outside the box, and yes, he did get goals in transition at Lyon, but the majority of his goals that we signed him for was to be almost what Nketiah has now become, that sort of 12 to 18 yard poacher, and the guy arriving on the end of a cross, on the end of a cutback, on the end of a flowing move to sort of knock it in at the back post, a poacher striker. Whereas what he's now become is a Roberto Firmino set up, kind of deep lying, sometimes 9, sometimes 10, sometimes 11, not really sure where. And I feel like that's the reason why he's coming off so much, because he's putting in so much work. He's quite a heavy set centre forward. That's not really his style of play, is to be explosive at certain moments in games. For Lyon, he would be out of a game for long periods, and before you knew it, he'd scored 2 goals and the game was over. Which I think a little bit like Wrighty was in his pomp. He could be quiet for games, but he would win you a game in a heartbeat. We're not really playing that style of football, and we're not creating the sort of chances that Lacko is going to take. He's almost part of the creation to set up a chance for us to score. So I kind of feel like Mikel will get there, and yeah, I'm not going to sit here and deny that I don't have concerns about some of the way Lacazette plays, because I do feel like we're stifling him a bit, and I worry that we might burn him out a bit as well, because much as I love Eddie Nketiah, I wouldn't like us going into the second half of the season with just him and Alba. But I do think that when Martinelli is fit, and we can't rush him, of course, he's still away, but I think when he comes back, and potentially where we look to, I think the creative number 10 is clearly the priority on the transfer list, but maybe next summer is the season where we decide to invest in a speedy striker, and that's when the transition's complete. But like Craig, I don't have any worries about Lacazette. I just think that we need to make up our minds how we're going to play him.
Yeah, exactly.
Danny, what would you do with our attack? Like, if some for strange reason, Mikel Arteta got your phone number and said, Daniel, I want to know what to do. What would you do?
Can you imagine?
That's what I'd say. Only Karl is allowed to call me Daniel. Other than that, I do not respond. Josh tries it, but I mug him off. Owen's got a point here. I think we have the answer. That's from the wonderful Goon Crack podcast. Don't ever get him to say it, because you will never be able to spell it. CRAIC, along with another really good new podcast, is Not Another Arsenal podcast. They've got all of our friends on there, and so they're good. But don't go and watch the Gooners in the USA. Scumbags, both voted Trump. They told me secretly. I think the answer is Martinelli. I do like Eduardo. Go on, Craig.
Is anyone not worried that Arteta never played Martinelli? I don't think Arteta fancies him.
I did wonder about that. I said this on a previous show. I might have said it on the Gooner Crack podcast that it was weird because when we bought him, the excuse was he's just finished the Brazilian season, and then it was he needs a break, and then it was hold on, he's not like with Saka. He didn't play Saka too. He didn't play Saka in the FA Cup final. So what
I don't
do you think
think
about
he
that?
fancies. I don't think he fancies it. I don't think he fancied Martinelli in our setup when he was available. I think in the new setup, I think he will.
Okay. I hope so. It just worries me that he didn't really. There was a few games there where you'd think, well, why is Martinelli playing there now? He should be playing tonight, really. And he never started him. So I would be a little bit concerned that he don't fancy him. But I hope you're right, Kris, that he brings him back in this new setup and get that player in the middle there that we want Lacazette to be.
Do you think when he comes back, you're likely to see a Martinelli on the left and Aubameyang in the middle, and then maybe interchange with Saka? So maybe even Martinelli on the right, Saka on the left, and Aubameyang in the middle.
I think he'd be mad not to play him through the middle. I know I've contradicted myself again. I want to see Aubameyang in the middle, but if you're talking about Martinelli coming back with Aubameyang on the left, Pepe on the right, I think that's the only way you can go, really. Martinelli's got to play down the middle.
Josh made a good point in the chat, and
don't say that.
Never like to give Josh any credit. Man's a fraud. Only joking, Josh. Love you, really. Ginger's rule. But yeah, he made a good point. The one thing that Aubameyang doesn't really have, which I think a lot of people kind of quietly just brush under the carpet, he's not a skiller. He's not a guy who's going to beat three men with a trick and
like Pepe
race away. He's a counter-attacking dream, and he's a guy with pace. Well, there's a newsflash here. He's 31. And although he's done, I think he's 31. I hope he's 31 now. I've said that. I think he is. His pace is not going to stay forever, and his game will slightly change. So thank God for that. He is
until he's 30.
Until he's 30. That's how it works. But he, I don't get it wrong. I'd like to see him through the middle in certain games. I kind of, in a weird way, I kind of like the fact that none of us really know game to game what Mikel's going to do, because that says to me that other opposition managers don't know that either. The only slight concern is if we do decide to play him through the middle, say against Villa, and he scores a hat-trick, then there'll be the clamour to play him there every week, and that's a sort of small problem. But I kind of... I do think we have to be a little bit careful about how much pressure we put on Aubameyang, because if Lacazette is getting through the dirty work and setting up and being part of the link play that gets us goals from midfield, which we haven't had for a long time, that's got to be a bonus. Otherwise, if we just say, right, Aubameyang through the middle, is all of our play just going to be forced through the middle then? And are we going to bypass an already quite narrow team and not use the wings at all? So that's my only slight concern. And I just feel that he's played. It's not like he's a novice at playing wide. He played wide for Etienne. Not knobhead, but he has played wide, and you never hear about him complaining about it. I'm sure part of him would like to play through the middle, but as long as he's scoring goals, I don't think he cares. And the one thing about him is the last few weeks it's been written on his face that he's been a bit frustrated because he hasn't been scoring goals. That's because he's an elite centre forward and he wants goals. And that's why I think he celebrates a penalty, because he just wants to be in and amongst the goals. So I think as long as those goals are flowing, I don't think he'll care if he's playing at left back, to be honest. So I kind of like the idea that we're a little bit unpredictable now. And we brought up Saka. I mean, where's his best position? I couldn't tell you at the moment, because I like him in 3 different positions.
Same here.
So,
I think we can do that with Martinelli as well. But Karl was asking, what would I do? I don't think we'd buy anyone. I like Eduardo, but I'm a Celtic follower, and I don't think we need to spend any more money. I think what is going to happen is, like Alba can play in any one of the front 3 positions. Martinelli's going to be a little bit like that. So I think maybe now when Aubameyang's getting a little bit older, like you were saying, Kris, a little bit, possibly a little bit slower, we'll get rid of Lacazette because plenty of clubs out there will want a player of proven goal-scoring ability. He's coming to the end of his contract. Maybe Lacazette will go. Alba is here for the long term. He signed the new contract. He wouldn't have signed that if he wanted to leave. And maybe playing Alba through the middle, and then he can rely more on his ability to score goals. Like you were saying, Kris, he hasn't got the tricks. And then we'll have two players, one maybe Pepe on the right, Martinelli on the left, supporting him, because then we'll have those front three all doing their best things. I made the point before the show. Lacazette scored 3 goals in his first 3 Premier League games and was dropped. Lacazette does look occasionally like a player who might have confidence issues. I mean, any player, you do that and you think, hold on, why are you dropping me? I've scored 3 in 3. And then he's in the Europa League games. Personally, I wouldn't have done that. Lacazette was an offside goal and a wrong offside goal away from having 4 goals in his first 4 Premier League games. There's nothing wrong with Lacazette. He was inches away from scoring goals. It's just unlucky at the moment that we've got Aubameyang not scoring and we've got Lacazette not scoring. How often does that happen when you've got 2 magnificent strikers like that, both not scoring? So, and then you're going to look at them and go, well, we're going to have to pick holes in one of them. There's always a weak point in the team. No one's moaning about Bellerin anymore, are they? We've always got scumbag Arsenal fans always want a scapegoat. And at the moment, that's Lacazette. And if you're watching Lacazette, we're not scapegoating you. You're a quality player. You carry on doing what you do. It will come good. It's just a matter of time. Like you were saying, Craig, we've played those three of the toughest away games of the season. We've played in our first 7 league games.
Exactly. I'm not a scumbag, by the way.
No, me and Kris agree with you. Or we're all either all of us are scumbags, or all of us are right. Hey, Karl.
The one thing we'll say to draw a line under this is at least we don't have a centre forward who seems to think backing into other players and endangering their safety while they're in the air is an acceptable way of winning a penalty.
Repeatedly. Against West Ham, didn't he? I would say how to get away with that, but we know how.
When is someone going to call him out on it? Like, well, of course they won't, because of course he's English, isn't he? How silly of me! That's a very silly thing to say. But he's going to injure someone. Like, it fucking boils my brain. And the bloody other little cheating scumbag as well. But anyway, that's them. We'll leave them in the bin where they belong. But yes, Danny, you wanted to move us along in terms of topics, I believe.
What other topics did I have in my list of topics? I've just been collating all the questions. So we've done that. When are people going to stop Karl, when are people going to stop saying that every decent result that Arteta has is, it's a one-off? It was a one-off with the FA Cup final, beating Liverpool at home in the league, beating Man City in the FA Cup, beating Chelsea in the FA Cup final, beating Liverpool in the Charity Shield. Going away and only losing by 1 goal at Man City, going away and beating Man United for the first time in the league for 16 years. When are they going to stop saying, it's a one-off?
People are fickle. Arsenal fans are one of the most fickle bunch in the world. You know, we want perfection. We want everything in the world, and we want it instantaneously, unfortunately. Mikel Arteta and says this line all the time: trust the process. And you got to give him time. He's been given money. He's working with what he's got. We can't go from 8th to be challenging for the title. That's impossible. It's not going to happen. Do I think we're good enough to challenge for the title? No. Will Mikel Arteta make mistakes? Yes. But is he doing a good job? Yes, he is. We're always going to moan about the odd results here and there. We are. I had the biggest moan about the Leicester game because I thought he just got it wrong. You know, I was fuming about the Leicester game, as was probably everyone here. But you know, I still don't believe that he knows his best team. But you can't fault a guy who, in half a season that he's been our manager, won a trophy. You know, in half a season he beat, you know, the league champions, who's won the league by 19 points, was it? He's beaten Man City, arguably. So he's beaten arguably the 2 best teams in English football. You know, you have to give the guy time. We're not going to be able to go from finishing 8th in the league to be challenging right up there for the season. I mean, if you look at the top of the Premier League tables, it's a mess. No one is a clear favourite at the moment. You know, teams are starting to come into their own, and so are we. You know, we've got a run of games at the moment coming up, and you know, like Craig said, they're all winnable games. Aston Villa at home is a winnable game. Leeds away worries me, but it's winnable. Wolves at home is a winnable game, and then we've got the Scum away, which you know, that's going to be an extremely good game. And that, honestly, that will be the test. That will be the test to see where we are. You know, when we go to play Tottenham away, it will be a test. And even if we lose that game, and God forbid we do, but even if we do, you know, even after that, our run of games are still, we've got Burnley and then Southampton, which are winnable games. We have to not be so knee-jerk, and that's including myself. I'll be very honest with you. You know, no team is gonna not lose a whole game in the league. Only Arsenal can do that. But do you know what I mean? Like, it's gonna happen. We're gonna lose games. I mean, could you imagine if Mikel Arteta had lost 8-2 to Aston Villa? Flipping hell! We'd still be talking about that now on Twitter, but. You know, Liverpool lose 8-2, and it's just like they know it's a one-off, and they keep on moving. We need to, as Arsenal fans, not need to be so knee-jerk. Just, you know what, chalk it up to the game. No one is invincible apart from Arsenal. We're never going to be that again, unfortunately. No other team is going to be that again. We have to trust Mikel Arteta's process. We have to put faith in him. And the Man United game for me is straight up there. You know, everyone saw that team and thought, what the hell was going on here? And look at the masterclass that he pulled off. Yes, it wasn't a very good Manchester United team, but we still went away to a league rival and we won. So I think you have to give him time.
I think, yeah, exactly. Sorry,
carry on.
I don't want to compare Klopp to Arteta because there's no comparison, right? But I want to compare the situation. Klopp came into a team. The team he had at Liverpool was absolute rubbish. Balotelli, Saka in the middle. The list is endless. He came in and he put his stamp on the team. Arteta's doing the same thing now. You can see it. He's starting slowly to clear out the players who have been here, who have been playing for Arsenal and know that they're not going to get dropped because they've got no one else challenging for their positions. Now we're seeing a bit of challenge for positions. The players are getting switched around a bit. We're not playing those same 11 players week in, week out. Now, Jurgen Klopp came to Liverpool and has turned them into European champions and Premier League winners, but he didn't do it in 6 months. It took him 4 years. It took him 4 years to get a song out of his team and to become Premier League champions and European champions. People who are sitting there actually wanting Mikel Arteta to be sacked. I have no idea what goes on in their heads. I've seen things on Twitter. Oh, Arteta's got to go. This, that, and the other. He's not the man we all thought he was going to be. He's Pep's cone man. This, that, and the other. Now, not bad for a cone man. Best defensive record in the Premier League after playing, I'll say it again, after playing Manchester City, Manchester United and Liverpool away. Best defensive record in the Premier League. It's not going to be a 6-month job. It's not going to be a 12-month job. We will see where this team is in about 3 years' time, I reckon. And like I said before at the start of it, I believe the good times will roll again at this club. But you have got to trust him. There's no point in bringing him in, giving him a year and then going, actually, no, you're a load of rubbish, get out, and bring in someone else. Mikel Arteta is an Arsenal. First of all, he's been captain of this club. He knows Arsenal inside out. He loves the club. That's what I wanted in a manager. We've got him now, so please, just lay off him. And like Cole said, stop the knee-jerking. I'm guilty of it, because I know a lot of some people follow me on Twitter that are in the chat there. I am guilty of it, but that's just emotion coming from me at a full-time whistle. I probably don't even mean half the stuff I tweet, but we've got to stop this knee-jerk reaction after every defeat or after every draw or this, that, and the other. Just let him do what he's got to do. It's going to take time. Give him a chance.
I'll have to follow you on Twitter at some point. Oh no, wait, no, I can't do that. Josh wanted to make a point about the Gabriel Martinelli myth, which I just want to highlight quickly because he's put some stats in our group, and it is somewhat surprising in that the idea that he didn't play under Arteta. If you look at the stats, he actually played a considerable amount of games. I think it's one of those that maybe he didn't play in games we expected him to play, so it's kind of tarnished our minds a bit. I thought the same, I must admit, but looking at these stats here, he was involved in quite a lot of the big games, including both the Olympiacos games. So yeah, maybe that's one of those things that we probably sort of thought at the time that he wasn't involved as much as he should have been. Maybe, I don't know. It's an interesting one, but yeah, I just wanted to highlight that. And like you said, Craig, I think we've got this whole trust the process thing, and it'll be weird to sort of see what happens when fans come back. Not that I think that's something we have to worry about, certainly this season, full stop. I don't think it's going to be a while yet, but it will be interesting to see what the vocal majority are, because you get such a polarizing opinion on social media, the fors and against, and we often forget not everyone's on social media, and it's the people that are in the ground a lot of the time is what gives you the really sort of clearest cut
I would think
thoughts,
I would think 99.8% of the fans will be behind him.
People with a brain, basically.
I can't see why you wouldn't be. I just want to go to there's a point here, Dan, from Neil. He said there that Liverpool had good recruitment over the 3 or 4 years that he was there. I want to make the point. Can you imagine if we signed a left back from Hull City? Could you imagine the meltdown if we signed a left back from Hull City? Jurgen Klopp, or could you have the meltdown if we had to sign Sadio Mane? Oh, who's he? Southampton player. Oh, we don't want Southampton players. We don't want Hull City players. Look what he's done with them 2 players. Turned them into well beaters. You've got this thing with Mohamed Elneny now. If he goes on and keeps playing like he is, and I said at the start, I don't think you'll see him in the home games. But if Arteta chooses to keep playing him in the home games and he keeps doing what he's doing, then leave him there. Don't start moaning about, Nenny, he only cost 4 million. Oh, I don't want him in the team. He only cost 4 mil. Get him out. Tear out. I don't know what he's doing. It's just why can't for once we have a manager that's putting square pegs into square holes, and everyone's still not happy.
It's like a chap called Arsene once said, "I'm sorry, he didn't cost 50 million or whatever."
That's right, Rob Holding. Yeah.
It's the generation we live in, Craig. That's the truth. I mean, you're similar age to me. I still remember the days where you couldn't watch European football even if you wanted to, and the only information you could get was on CFAX. That was how you got your information about players. Nowadays, 5 minutes of YouTube on the bus home on your smartphone, and suddenly you know everything about the Spanish league or whoever you're signing next. And that's, as a little bit of a, hipster is a bit of a joke phrase, but it always grips me when people will say to me, "Oh, well, I'm judging this player and I think he's shit because he's only played in France or he's only played in Iceland or he's only." It's like, yeah, but have you actually seen him? Have you actually taken the time to research this player? And that's the same with Elneny. The amount of people that just think, "Oh, he's a water carrier," and yeah, maybe so, but he carries that water very well. And anyone that did any research will know he was one of Besiktas's best players the entirety of last season. And again, Arteta's no mug. And if he thought the Turkish league was crap and he thought Elneny was just big fish in a small pond, he would have been shipped. But he wasn't. He kept him because he came back to training with Arsenal, the club who owns him, and he went, "Actually, no, you're good enough. You're going to stick around." So
Maybe
and that's
Torreira as well.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think Torreira is a different kettle of fish because I don't think his style really suited the Premier League, if I'm honest. And it wasn't the fact he's too small. I just don't think our style of play is going to suit what he's good at, and I think he'll be good in Spain. I think it will suit him. But yeah, Elneny has come back, and as long as he's performing, and I like the fact that this squad has now got genuine options. Most people know my thoughts on Xhaka. I don't dislike the bloke. I'm sure he's a lovely guy, but I think he's very limited. And I like the fact that now we can legitimately put together 4 different combination of central midfield 2s, 3s, or even 5s. That we've got genuinely different options now. And the idea that we could, with the game's not going our way, okay, we need a passer, we'll put Ceballos in. Okay, we're 3-1 up. We need to close this game out, right? We bring on Elneny because he hasn't started the game. Okay, we need to go with a fluent sort of technical midfield with pace, right? We'll put Maitland-Niles in on one side, we'll put Saka in on the other side, and we'll put 3 technical players in the middle. I like that. It's been a long time since we've actually had genuine squad depth and options. So I think that's what a lot of people don't understand, Chris, as well. Everything you've just said there, absolutely bang on. We haven't had this for so many years. We've been watching a side. I've always said it. We've been watching a side where the first 11 had no challenge for their positions.
And I think that is a lot to do with the way we fell from grace. You can blame Emery, you can blame Wenger, you can blame whoever you want. But the simple fact was we didn't have the players challenging for the positions that we needed the positions to be challenged in, and they got complacent. And this is where we find ourselves.
Yep, I agree. Sorry, Danny, we've got
Kris,
people, but you know.
Someone's put something in the chat that I highlighted. They were asking about Guendouzi. It's Callum. He's only played one game for it's Hertha Berlin, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So we can't really judge him on that. Do you think he can do an Elneny, go away, get better, and come back? Because that Turkish league, you don't fuck around in that Turkish league, they will break you. So that would have made Elneny. I'm a Trabzonspor fan. Thank you very much, Kevin Campbell. Who are having a nightmare at the moment, and they've got Benicaphobe up front, and they've got Frank Sinclair as manager. I know it's an ex-Chelsea player. Huh?
Yeah, he's there, isn't he?
Dean Sturridge played for them as well.
Yeah, they let him go.
Did they?
Yeah, he did, and now he's a free agent, isn't he? I think.
Yeah.
Only 31.
I think the thing about Guendouzi, I think it was more of an attitude thing. I think after that Brighton game, I think that definitely, and the fact that he refused to apologise, I think that was the teenage petulance in him. And I believe things may have got said behind closed doors. There's no doubt that Arteta would have said to him, there would have been discussions had, and we're not privy to these conversations, but I can almost guarantee that. It was apologize, and Guendouzi said no, and it was like cool because you didn't see him again after that, which I can understand. And obviously, things would have gone on throughout sort of the summer or the 4 week that they had off, and clearly relationships never got any better. So it was okay, go away for a season, go and see if you can improve your game and also improve your attitude and see what happens when you come back. For me, Guendouzi didn't offer much, but he did offer something to the squad. And I hope that when he comes back, he can, try and force his way into the squad. But I do think it's not even ability with Guendouzi. I genuinely do think his attitude. And I think, he is young. He's 19, but he does need to grow up. And I think he needs, as soon as he changes his attitude and realizes that just because you're a good footballer doesn't mean that you can be a prick, basically. So once that sort of is done, I think he should be okay.
I agree with that. Yeah, I think Karl's spot on. I did get a little bit protective of my little French floppy head buddy because a lot of people were talking a lot of shit on Twitter. Remember those days? Yeah, a lot of people were talking a lot of nonsense. Oh well, he wasn't any good anyway. Oh, he's shit, and it's the classic again lazy Arsenal fan view. As soon as a player leaves us, well, he was shit anyway. No, he wasn't. He wasn't shit. He's a very talented, very very gifted young man who's got a very high opinion of himself and a massively inflated ego that needs dropping down a peg or two. Simple as that. Absolutely. And I think. Yeah. And I genuinely think if Mikel Arteta hadn't have had so much to do this summer, he'd probably still be in our squad this season. But I think the fact he's had to deal with the Ozil situation, he's had to deal with getting players out, he's had to deal with trying to get players in, rebuild a squad in a summer, throw in a pandemic, etc. He had so much to deal with. It was a case of, look, can we get this player playing time if we ship him out on loan? Yep. Let's see how he gets on there, and we'll revisit this one in the summer of next year. He's gone to Hertha Berlin. He's going to be playing under a coach in Bruno Labbadia, he's not a bad coach, to be fair, and Hertha are very much a work in progress, but he's certainly not a coach who's going to fuck around. He came on because he had a positive test, so he'd only just made his debut at the weekend. He came on for Lucas Toussaint in their draw with Wolfsburg, and played very well. And to me, he's again, people have to remember he's 2021. He's got a big future ahead, and it's all right us saying, "Oh, he's shit. He's this, he's that." He's not only is he actually very talented, he's also potentially a very sellable asset if it doesn't work out. So it's in our best interest to get a good season out of him at Hertha and hopefully bring him back. And if there isn't a space for him to fill in that midfield, we sell him on. But Christ, who knows where our midfield will be next season? Xhaka isn't getting any younger. Ceballos is still on loan, which people forget. We might actually need him in a year's time. And if he goes away and knuckles down and proves that he's worth it, Arteta will give him a chance. If he comes back and still thinks that he's the dog's bollocks, He won't, and he'll be another Adrian Rabiot. Maybe not as successful as Rabiot, but he'll drift into obscurity, and that talent will go to waste. But the idea that because we shipped him out on loan, he was never good enough for us in the first place. Go back and watch the Aston Villa game is all I'd say, and just remember that there is a player in there, but he's a player with an immense ego that needs to be knocked down a peg or two, which hopefully will happen in Germany.
I don't about Guendouzi going to Berlin. My worry is about him not getting better, but is he? I hope he matures. And if he matures and he comes back with a season under his belt in Germany, and he comes back matured, we've got a player on our hands. I mean, I was in Dublin when Arsenal played Chelsea. This was going back a couple of years ago, but it was one of his first games for us. And me and Lee, after the game, were saying, "God, how good was he? This kid, where's he come from?" Do you know, with the big hair and young baby face in the middle there. Who's this kid? Jesus, the way he was knocking the ball about that night, we were really impressed with him. And I've got his back. I think you're dead right, mate. If he goes away and matures in Germany and comes back, we've got a hell of a player on our hands. Hell of a player. Yeah. Can I just say one more thing? One more thing? Karl, that darker grey looks better, mate.
You see the
No one cares about a player with an ego when they're performing, and the minute they're not, suddenly everyone cares. See Paul Pogba. When he's on form, no one cares about his haircut, no one cares about his boots, no one cares about his one arm sleeve. They all love him. As soon as he's not performing, he's overrated, he's worth this, he's worth that, he's shit, he's this. Yeah, it's just short-termism from some of our fans, unfortunately.
Chris, before we go to questions with Karl, I've DM'd you them, Karl. Guendouzi's contract ends in the end of June next summer. Will he leave on a free? Or will we get him to sign a new contract and come back? Because it's been 3 years already. You've got 30 seconds to answer that.
I'd be surprised if there wasn't a clause in his contract for a year's extension. I mean, that's what they're doing now. So I'd be, even if it's just a year extension so that we can sell him, but I wouldn't want to see him walk away from this club for free. I think, like Kris said, he's a sellable asset, and we can get some money for him. So him walking away for free I don't think that's an option, not at all.
No, I mean we've already seen, if the rumours are true, some of the clubs that have been that came in for him, or shown an interest in him. Whether it's true or not, who knows? But I genuinely believe that next year we'll see him back in the we'll see him back in the squad. I really do. I hope that Arteta sat him down, put an arm around him, and said, "Look, you're a good player. You're still young. You've still got a future here at Arsenal. I want you to go away for a year, go and learn some more about your trade. Go away, grow up, mature, and we'll see you in a year's time." I hope that's what he said to him, and I hope to see him back in the squad, because I agree with Kris. There's a definite player in there, absolutely.
Hopefully, he does. He's a confidence player. We're always full of confidence, no matter the situation. Neil says that his contract doesn't end in June 2021, but Transfer Market says it does. Tweet them, tell them they're wrong. Oh, here we go. K-Man says he signed a contract until 2023.
2023. That was my understanding. Yeah, 2023.
Transfer Market scumbags. Bold me a googly. Right, Karl.
And we signed Mavropanos to a new deal as well, didn't we? Before we sent him off on loan, so we're at least protecting the assets in the future. So that's something.
Karl, do you want to do questions? He speaks very
highly of you.
Does he? Oh, I love him then.
No.
Karl, questions.
Right, these are from Twitter. Obviously, sorry, Kris, you didn't get to see these. So I'll come to you first. This is from Matt L. Roberts. And
they're not all from Twitter. There's one from Periscope and some from YouTube as well.
Oh, don't fucking ruin it.
I'm allowed on those.
Oh, of course, because Kris wouldn't know. Sorry, Karl, I've got you.
For now.
Say no more.
So we'll work on getting to Kris banned from YouTube and Periscope and all the rest of them.
So where was that? It'll be done in a day.
Matt Roberts says to you, Kris, are we going to see much of Reece and William Saliba in the Europa League games? Chris Watts mentioned Saliba is in the Europa League squad. So do you think that William Saliba may get a game tomorrow? Thursday.
Yeah, I do actually. I've had a mole. I've had a mole in the what do you call it? Behind the
ITV.
hedges, shall we say?
Have you got your telly on,
Yeah.
Chris?
Yes, I have. Yes. Can you hear it? Can you? Oh, sorry. I thought I'd turned it down.
Do you want us to shut up while we listen to telly with you? You're like one of them annoying people that sings along to songs. We're more important. Get on with it.
Real Madrid Inter
Don't
would
make
beg
me
to
tell
differ. But anyway,
Will.
yeah, I've got a little inside source that has said that since the whole thing that obviously Saliba went through a bit of a tough time, with the family loss and a few things sort of came to pass in his life that didn't help his settling in period. Apparently, since that has happened, he's been training really, really well, and is a lot more involved and feels a lot more part of the group. And by all accounts, since the sort of information got leaked, and may I say as well, a lot of that, the way it was reported in the press was just totally unfair, and some of the questioning for Arteta about it was completely unfair. It's a personal thing to him. It's a personal bereavement. It should have been left there. I thought some of the reporting on that was horrendous, but still, it sounds like the squad have rallied and have got behind him and have helped him acclimatise and adjust. And by all accounts, this week in particular, he's trained really, really well. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him. And like Karl was saying earlier on, we need to give Gabriel a bit of a break. You wouldn't want to be playing holding, having just come back from injury. I think David Luiz is still a week and a half away from full fitness. So I wouldn't be against the idea of playing even a back three where you could sort of move Xhaka into a defensive sort of slot and maybe play Saliba alongside Mustafi. But I wasn't. The only thing I was a bit I couldn't quite work out is I thought Saliba wasn't named in the Europa League squad. So I don't know whether.
He's not.
I didn't think he was. I didn't think he was.
No. The fella there has it spot on. Is it Tashi? Arteta said the other day that he'd made a mistake.
He regretted not.
In not putting Saliba in because Sarri's injured and he's going to be out for another 3 to 4 weeks, they reckon. So, well, he's not injured, but he's had a setback. Yeah, and he was saying
be a little bit longer.
He'd made a bad decision.
That's a shame. Then that's a shame because it's. I think he probably would have probably had that game, but I do think we'll start to see him get into squads at least, or and the fact that he's in regular full-time training. The one thing that has come out, a lot of people have sort of said, we spent all this money and he's not good enough, and we've signed a dud and all this, and it's like, again, the guy hasn't played a first team game. Like, it's an investment, it's going to take a bit. Some players take longer than others to adapt. Jesus, 19. Let's not throw the. Exactly. Let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. It'll take time, and you don't become a bad centre half overnight. And he was very, very good in St Etienne, as was Fofana, who Danny mentioned, who's gone to Leicester, and he's doing a really, really good job. So I do think he'll get some game time, but it's a question of being patient. And like I say, if we get through the Europa League first round group stages, who knows where our squad will be after that, because we might have other players out injured, and he might get the opportunity to come back in. But he's being named in reserve team squads regularly now. He seems to be playing regular football. That's going to help, and hopefully he'll be integrated in further and looked after, because there's a talent there.
He played the other night. He played for the under-23s, I believe.
Yeah, and very well as well. And as for Reece Nelson, I thought he really took his chance in the Europa game the other night. I wouldn't have played him at Old Trafford, but I would have had him in the squad. And I hope we see him on Thursday, because he looked like a player against, albeit Dundalk. No disrespect, they weren't the best of outfits, but he looked like a player who was trying to make a real impression and was really knuckled down. And he's a bit of a throwback. He reminds me of a good version of Jermaine Pennant. Somebody with a trick or two and a little bit of sort of lightly lads about him, but. He's got the ability. It's just whether he gets the chances. When Pennant got chances, he did very well. Unfortunately, he was a bit of a pleb off the pitch. But yeah, he reminds me of that sort of player, a bit of a throwback English winger. So I'd like to see him get game time. But again, it's such a congested area of the pitch. Then I don't know. But I hope we do. I hope we do.
Okay.
Sorry.
Next question is to you, Craig. And this is from Gooner Crack Podcast. He says, I've seen a lot of people say that this team's systems won't work against low blocks. Would the relentless pressure not cause mistakes against teams with a low block?
Yes, it could, but we must pass. We'll come to that when it happens. At the end of the day, we're seeing a team, like Dan said, we're seeing a team evolve. Right? No one expected us to go up to Old Trafford. Certainly me, anyway. I don't know about how you boys feel, but no one expected us to go up to Old Trafford and press Manchester United in their own half, and win the ball in their own half. He's right. It could. Teams that played a low block, it could backfire on us, but we're not going to know that until it happens. Will Arteta put these tactics in, realise that we're getting done by a low block, and change it? So we just don't know. That's the manager's job. That's why we've got to trust. That's why we've got to trust Arteta to do the right thing. But no, it's a valid point. We could get caught out, or it might not work when playing against those kind of teams. But at the end of the day, I've always said it, and I've always said it on our own podcast. I'm right behind Arteta, and we can't go off on one too much if he makes a mistake, because at the end of the day, he's still learning as well, being a coach. But no, it's a valid point, and it's a great point. But like I say, I'm not too worried. I really am not too worried. I trust Arteta to make the right choices.
Agreed. Definitely have to agree with you there. Daniel, this one's for you. This is from Footy Freak, and it's the first ever Periscope question. Woohoo! And Footy Freak says, what or who do you think is missing to make us challenge for the title?
Before I answer that, J-Rob, an hour ago, thank you very much for stuffing some dory-doos down Chris's pants. They were very, very kind of you. Craig, do you need to go?
I do actually, yeah. I'm going to slip off if that's all right.
Thank you very much for joining us. Tell people where they can find your wonderful podcast and your anger on Twitter when we lose.
Yeah, you can find me at Scotty Boy Gooner. It's just there. If you like a bit of knee jerk and like to take the piss out of people, I'm your man. You can also find the podcast at Same Old AFC, and we're on YouTube, the Same Old Arsenal podcast. Thank you very much, Dan, Kris, Karl. It's been an absolute pleasure being on this podcast. It's my favourite one. It's the first podcast I ever listened to. Here I am on it. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Cheers, Craig.
All the best.
Catch you
all the best.
Hello, mate.
Bye-bye.
Bye. There you go. Yes, so everyone knows the Same Old Arsenal podcast. Anybody can easily go out and find that. What do we need to... the question was from, what do we need to... get the final piece of the puzzle, was it?
Yeah. Like, what makes us stop challenging for the title?
Goals, I think, at the moment, because we've had so many years of shit defenders, shit goalkeepers with I hope you probably won't be listening, but Manuel Almunia, and he said Martinelli. Almunia was shit. I didn't like Fabianski. Szczesny has turned out to be pretty decent, but it was taking him a while to come through. I never really rated Petr Cech. And then another player, that Emery, who is third in La Liga with Villarreal at the moment, challenging for the title. But he broke him without playing that from the back, trying to teach an old dog new tricks. So hard to know what the exact thing is. It's not the defence, because he seems to have got that sorted. Martin with Kieran Tierney coming in. It's not the goalkeeper. It looks like the midfield is going to be okay. So I think it's back to the thing that we've had no trouble in recent years doing, scoring goals. We used to score goals for fun. But I think it's just a slow process of building everything up and getting everything all to fit in place. But goals. Is it goals? Is there anything I've missed there?
Do you not think we're always one or two players away from being a completed squad? That we're always missing something. I mean, for years we were missing a defensive midfielder. For years, I can see Kris going to roll his eyes, but although we had Olivier Giroud, we needed a different striker to play off Olivier Giroud. For years we needed good centre backs. There's always something missing. I don't know. I think I agree.
We're struggling to find one means we might be getting there, but we're not.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. That we're always just that one. But I guess every team can say that. No team is complete. Every team feels that they're missing something, and I guess we're just exactly the same. Like, no team is the most complete team in the world. there's always something. I mean, the most complete team I think I've ever seen is the Barcelona team of 08-09. I think that team was literally perfect. I genuinely do. But since then, I don't think there's been a team when something's not missing. So yeah, one of those things. Kris, I'm going to take this question because I can know what you're going to say. Carter Stage, a YouTube member, says, I say we need to sell Lacazette and Xhaka in the January transfer window and get a midfielder in. What do you guys think? No, January is not the time to make changes like that. Actually, I'm going to go to Kris because I know that we could talk about Awar. I don't think I can almost guarantee he's not going to come in the January transfer window. But next season, I guess we might still be in for him, or other teams might come in for him. I don't know how. I know we were quite close to getting him, but Kris, do you think that the end of this transfer or in June, July, do you think we still might be interested in him?
Just repeat the player again. Sorry, interested in who?
Awar.
Oh, sorry, yeah, it cut the old ISDN cut out for a second there. Yeah, I still think we'll be keen. The big issue we're going to have now is that he's getting regular game time for Lyon, and it's essentially one of their most key players now, which probably means he'll inevitably have a pretty good half season up until Christmas, and then we might have to compete with other teams for him. So that's the big issue. The time to have got him was when we were the head of the queue, and all those people saying, "Oh, Juventus are interested, Man City are interested." Yeah, bullshit. No, they weren't. The only other team that actually put in a concrete offer was PSG, and that was one of those. We'll take him now and we'll pay back in instalments. And Lyon were like, "Nah." So I think we're still interested. There's the links to is it Sloboshy? It's pronounced in Salzburg. He's definitely performing very well for them. Hit Tom up on Twitter about him. He's a big fan, but I think again there'll be a lot of competition for his signature. So yeah, I think Awar is still on the radar, but at the same time we're looking at 2 months before the next window. Who could we shift on before then? I've got a sneaking feeling, and I may be completely wrong on this. I hope I'm right, because at least it would finally bring the curtain down. I've got a funny feeling that a lot of MLS clubs will have a look at Mesut in the off season, and I wonder if, because the MLS season comes to an end fairly soon, although it's a bit of a weird season this year because it's been affected, but the MLS Cup will end soon. I believe it's in the next month. If Chris Lodato is still in the chat, he'll be able to tell me for definite. But yeah, with the MLS off season in US soccer, as it is over there, there's a lot of, they have like what they're called, Danny, what are they called? Not draft picks, special players, aren't they?
Designated ones.
Designated players, that's it. Where every team's allowed to have one or two high earning designated players.
They had the Beckham law, didn't they?
That's it, yeah. And obviously, like Miami have got Gonzalo Higuain and Blaise Matuidi at the moment, and there's a lot of sort of bigger name players that are finding their way over to MLS, and Zlatan was there for a season. There's a lot of big MLS franchises that are looking to make large signings, and I've got a sneaking suspicion that Mesut might be tempted by that if he can stop tweeting about our games to do that. Chris has just put there three designated players, so there you go. So yeah, I wonder if we could shift Mesut on and therefore free up a lot of those wages. I wonder if then that might be the time we might actually go and get a player in January. And I guess it depends where we are in the league by that point. But yeah, I definitely think we are. I think we're still keeping tabs on Awar, but I worry that we might have missed the boat a bit, if you know what I mean. That's my concern. And we still need that player. Like, we still need. Our form at the moment is great, but let's not get away from the fact we really, really need to fill that creative gap in that midfield. And yes, Tony, it is indeed an Alice band. When you've got beautiful hair like mine, Tony, you've got to keep it in check. Do you know what I mean?
We've got an hour and a half, so I'll do two more questions. Danny, this is to you. This is from David Waffles. can we judge the manager by just the results? What is the length? What is that length of time? So how do we judge him that he's done a good job? I mean, for me, he's won a trophy. Surely he's got to be up there, right?
Well, it's something no Spurs manager has managed to do in the last, what was it, 2005? They won the League Cup. Then was it 1991 when they won the FA Cup? So they seem to, all their managers seem to be getting away with blue murder. So after 42 games, to have beaten Man United away for the first time and to have won the FA Cup, to won the Charity Shield, to be unbeaten in the Europa League, the best defence in the Premier League when other teams are going out and getting absolutely smashed. So it's lots of little boxes that he is ticking. Team confidence up, shit players now good, getting in the right players, do the right job at the right time, adapting his tactics game for game, being able to cope around having fucktards at the club that have no interest of anything other than their own well-being. So, yeah, I think everything's coming together nicely. And so I judge him on... I don't judge him on anything at the moment. He's only been there, less than a year now? Almost a year. Don't judge him on anything. Let him get on with it. So I'm perfectly happy.
Yes. Can't have to agree with you. He's won a trophy. So he's instantly better than Fat Frank and every single Spurs manager since 2005. So, yeah. Absolutely great. Before you start thinking about your shout outs, both of you, fuck you, Danny. This shout outs, not gentlemen's questions. This question is also to you, Danny, and Kris can't be involved in this. And it's from our Josh, and our Josh says, "What should Kris's new Twitter handle be?"
The artist formerly known as the Dirty Pirate, because you can now have longer Twitter names. The artist formerly known as Kris.
I think it should be Farmers Football Weekly.
I could start like my own podcast called Farmers Weekly, couldn't I? And just like see how many people I could get on agricultural shows, and yeah, that'd be great fun.
There you go, sorted.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, right, Kris, I'll hand it
Fun
over to
times. Danny.
Oh yes.
Yes. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry. Yes. We're doing shout outs.
Oh yes. My one is going to go to a couple of people. Nobby Styles, World Cup winner. Very sad that he passed away. Then there's Sean Connery, another one who passed away this week. John Sessions, didn't overly like him, but he was funny and he did a good job. There's been so many. It's going for a phase like we did it a few years ago where lots of famous people are passing away. And, of course, Bobby Ball, Rock on Tommy. Sad times. So, grab the ones you love and give them a big squeeze. That's me done.
Okay.
Amen. I've got two shout outs and I've got a question in the chat. Steve-O, hi Steve, how you doing? He asked me what my 10K is at now. 41.19, Steve, was my all-time quickest, I think, according to my app anyway. But yeah, average in the 40-minute bracket. So not too bad. Getting there, mate, getting there. Shout outs. First one I'm going to give to Josh Robinson, who just before I went to Twitter jail said my views on football are both outdated and very poor, and for me to get in the bin. So hi, Josh, if you're watching. I miss you too.
Josh sends questions in quite regularly.
I know he does. He's a little troll, dirty little bugger.
It's called Josh, though. What do you expect?
I know. He hated my views and found them outdated, but he still followed me. Anyway, and my other shout out is going to go to Jackosaurus, who you probably won't have known, Danny, because you were in bloody bed. But old Jacko did I think it was a 13-hour charity stream the other day. Streamed from 11 o'clock in the morning till midnight, I believe it was, and he was playing some Alien Resurrection. Not Alien Resurrection, that's a film. Alien Isolation. And I hopped into his stream. I didn't say hello because I was kind of doing that thing where I was doing things in the background and lurking. But I was there, Jack, and it was a very enjoyable stream. Keep up the good works, and well done. 13 hours streaming is no fucking joke, by the way. It's almost as hard as listening to Danny on a podcast for an hour and a half. It's tough going. But he did a good job, mate. And I think I think he was only just short of his goals, his follow goals in his funds raise. So well done to you, Jackosaurus. And yeah, he's on Twitch. I think it's at Jackosaurus if you want to follow him. I'm sure Danny will find a link. But yeah, well done to you, sir.
All right. I am going to be greedy and have a few. The first one is to CI the Gooner. She is an Arsenal supporter and she's found out she's pregnant. So congratulations to her.
Anyone seen John recently?
My second shout out is to all my Man United friends who seem to have been really, really quiet since Sunday, and I'm a bit worried about them. Really worried. Like, I even added all of them and not one reply. Very, very strange, and I'm a bit worried about them. So I'm going to keep on adding them just to make sure that they are okay. And my final shout out is to Ellis. I still want people just to tweet him, nothing else but hashtag fuck Ellis. I just want his inbox filled up with hashtag fuck Ellis, because really and truly, hashtag fuck Ellis.
I'll send him a postcard with fuck Ellis on, because that's the only thing I can do these days. So
send it from the Pirates account.
Yeah, I could do that. Danny just tried to spam fuck Ellis and he spelt fuck wrong. So I think that sort of sums up our podcast quite nicely there.
Fuck it. Jesus, Danny.
Oh, God. You can't get the
Look at the
stuff.
concentration on his face.
Yeah. Every ounce of what he had left there, didn't it? Good grief.
All right, Daniel, bring this show to a close.
Well, thank you very much, everybody, for listening. Thank you very much to Craig from the Same Old Arsenal podcast. Go and watch him every Monday, usually live, I think 7:30 or 8 o'clock, one or the other. Thank you very much, Karl. You have been magnificent as always, and good luck with the decorating and the salt and vinegar McCoy's crisps.
Yes, it's. Do you know what? I did have all decorating. I can't wallpaper for shit, and I was gonna get someone to wallpaper, and then Boris decided to lock us down again, so I can't exactly have people inside my house. So decorating has been put on hold, unfortunately. And, you know, and also genuinely to everyone in lockdown, stay safe. And if you feel your mental health going, because I definitely know that mine definitely did in the first lockdown, reach out to people. Don't be afraid just to, you know, at someone, call someone, you know, hit someone up on WhatsApp, anything. Don't feel you have to go through this alone. You know, if you live alone and, you know, you're being told to stay home and you work from home as well, it can get lonely that you don't see people. I'm lucky I get to go into work and see people at work, but don't suffer in silence. If you genuinely feel like, you know, your mental health is suffering, talk to someone. Talk to any of us at ABW. We're always here. Josh is always there. Chris. Danny's always there. I'm always here. So
Chris was, but he's not anymore.
Yeah, but seriously, reach out to anyone. If we just want to have a talk about football, we're here. You know, some of us will talk shit. You know, Danny definitely, but you know, reach out to us. Don't feel you have to go through this alone. It is hard, but you know, stay strong, everyone.
Wise words, Chris. Any final words?
No, I just echo that. Yeah. You know, don't suffer in silence. And if you're one of those people who sort of feel the need to get out and about and do something like, you know, I know that the something close to my heart, like Sunday League football, has been postponed again. I hate to say I told you so, but that's happened, and that will affect a lot of people's sort of physical fitness and whatnot. You know I probably bang on about it or have done in the past, but I found running about 2 years ago now, and really, really enjoying it. I managed to smash out 110 miles last month, and I came from literally nothing, just getting a pair of decent shoes, and I've found I really love it. And sometimes it's really nice just to stick in a podcast of whomever and just hit the streets and enjoy it. So if you are suffering, you know, exercise is permitted. So get yourself out there and just have a little trot round and discover the delights of the outside world while you still can. But if you are stuck indoors, just give us a nudge. And anybody who's on PS4 and who wants to complete some co-op objectives with me on FIFA 21, please add me. CFreddy8 is my tag on PS4. Please add me, because I fucking hate co-op and I want to get the objectives done. Thank you, please.
That's for FREDDIE. Not it's the Lundberg way, isn't it?
Yeah, CFREDDIE 8.
Excellent. Right. So, thank you to J Rob, who stuffed some dollary doos down your pants. Thanks to L. I think we had 200 people at one point. I think a lot of them came over from Craig's one, Craig's podcast. Oh,
Beautiful.
Yeah. Craig said he's on PS4 as well.
Oh, there you
Scotty
go.
Boy Gooner. Do you follow each other?
Excellent. We don't, but we can do now. So
Sort that out.
I'll have to. I'll make a note of that now, Scotty. I shall add you up. So
Good.
Great.
And our next show. Was someone going to say something then?
no, carry on.
No. Okay. Next show is Tuesday. It is Arsenal v Mould in the Europa League. It's me and our Egyptian legend, Richard. We're talking of Egyptian legends. Rami Shaban liked our tweet of the show. So, Rami, triple back-to-back winners of the ABW Best Guest of the Year. And as so far he's been the only celebrity guest this year, it could be his fourth title. Maybe we'll have to rename it the Rami Shaban Guest of the Year podcast. Anyway, we're dribbling on now. It's been 1 hour, 45 minutes. Thank you very much, everybody, for watching. We have been at Bergkamp Wonderland. We will see you later. Mikel Arteta's army. Way! Up your bum. Oh, no, I didn't mean that.
Hashtag
Keep
fuck
coming.
Ellis.
Fuck Ellis.